end. But yeah,
What I'm going to do is I'm going to record it. Then what I'll do is I'll take screenshots, make notes, and I'll delete the recording.
whatever, it's
Because I don't
fine.
want you getting in trouble, but it wouldn't leak out. But that's what I'll do.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So I was looking at this. It's been a while since I looked at the old UI, the old SMAC.
Yeah.
This is called Esqua, right? So
How do they pronounce it?
ESCWA, Enterprise Server Console Web Admin, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's an acronym. We
Right.
always kid about the fact that we can't make up a decent name, but it's the UI, it's the admin UI.
Well, I used it at Macy's, but not very
Okay.
well. I didn't,
Oh, okay.
didn't really feel comfortable.
So the thing about it, I was trying to remember this. I think you can actually. So this is the main console, right?
Yeah.
So when you come up and you type in localhost 1086 up here, right? You get this console or this opening screen, splash screen, which you can change, right? You go into native, and that's really where we usually deal with all the enterprise server instances. Here you can have, when you hit the default, you'll see all the regions available, right? And I only have two because this machine is not exactly the same breadth and width of the old Micro Focus machine, so I'm not gonna have that many servers started. But when you come to this screen, you should be able to import the export out of the SMAC version.
Oh, wow.
So you might be able to not have to reconfigure everything.
Yeah.
I haven't, I mean, this is now 3 years since I did this. Actually, to tell you the honest truth, I don't think I did this round, because when I started, this was the UI of choice. I haven't played with SMAC in quite a while. So you
Does
might be
Rocket
able to bring
provide
it over.
well, they do. You got the demo. So they already provided a
Right.
default
They already
configuration.
provide one, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You just follow through, right? Next, next, next. And this is also where you would, if you want to copy or if you want to import, export from others, so you can copy here and then walk through the whole thing, right? So like the region that you want, next, so forth and so on. And that'll bring up another region here.
Now, what does it take to install this on Linux? Because I know how to do it on Windows.
You know what? I've never installed Enterprise Server directly. This is the instant that comes with Enterprise Developer, but I think it's just running an exe.
Yeah.
You use it separately, or you have a separate install on the servers?
Well, yeah. Well, for Windows Server, yeah, I had to download the executables and just run a .exe to install it.
Right. Yeah, it's the same idea. I don't think that's changed a lot. Now, from this UI, like I said before, from this UI, you can control, or you can define, if you will, a centralized location that you can control other instances of Enterprise Server. So basically, you not on the same physical server, but on different server. So you can say, okay, I want to give it a name, like, I don't know, test environment, and then give it a description, and then you'll walk you through actually pointing to the server where that is, with a physical server where the other region is. So you're able to, that's what these are, say, local, right? Default, and then you can create another one and then point into the physical, the IP address of that one at 1086. So you can actually see all your regions running under one UI, or on one instance of the UI. And then everything is controlled through these menus. right? These menu items up here. And as always, right, they don't become, a lot of it doesn't become enabled until you start the region. So I got two regions here. One is the duplicates of each other. One is started, right? You can see that there, and one is stopped. And then the approach is, as you get these UIs or these details, right? When you hover over, you'll get the actions, right? Where you can actually edit them, delete them, you know, things like that. And you'll see that as all the menu items have that, right? But to go into a particular region, you just click on that, and then now the menu items change. They get more expanded, right? Just like the old CICS one, that you can see only certain things when CICS is up.
Right.
And this is the main page, right? The general page. And again, pull down menus all along here. But this is where you set up all your main information, right? And the whole idea of setting
Right.
up.
That's where I put the environment variables and everything
Right,
else.
the
I got no
substitution
CVS
variables.
max side. Yep.
Yep. The definitions and everything else, right?
Now, are you running on a Windows platform?
Yeah, this is a Windows platform. This is a Windows laptop. On my old machine, I had a VM that was running Linux on enterprise server, and I was able to control it from here, right? Or not, yeah, control it, manage it, monitor it, right? So again, these menus become available or expanded when the region is up, but if you click on here. Now, the other thing in general, right? If you look over here on the far right, these little question marks provide a lot of information about the actual page you're in, right? I find this to be much more concise and appropriate than the actual documentation, you know, because it's right here. And you'll see sometimes it's actually even down to the level of the check mark or the individual configuration item, right? Some of it is good, some of it is not, or some of it is detailed, some of it is not. So you're able to get a lot about that. Now, the other thing is, and again, this is sort of a general approach, when you make a change, right, to this, whatever, you have to hit the apply button, right? And that way it'll apply, or it'll make it permanent. If you kind of change something and you go to another screen, you'll get, you know, that you have unsaved changes. So that's a great thing. So, you know, once you start the region from either here, right from there where you'll see the stop sign, right? Or if you look at the control, you can start it from here, right? And you'll see everything turn green once it's up and running. And then here you can stop it. This is also where you mark it stopped or not in case you need to force it to stop, right?
So what about when you punch off a CICS system definition and you get all that data? I would have to parse it, pull it all out, and then load it. Is there a specific utility now that makes it easier?
What do you mean parse it all out?
Well, last time I did it, I didn't just import the CICS system definition. It was too verbose. It had all sorts of extraneous info in there. So I had to go in and do mass edits to just get it down to like the kicks definitions and.
Oh, you mean actually when you bring it down from the mainframe?
Yeah.
I think there is a utility. I have never done that. It's always been, I've always defined it manually here.
Yeah.
So I think there is an option, or there is I don't know if it's a utility that is, you know, part and parcel of the or the software, or it's something
well, I thought it was a field developed solution, but I remember
I think
there wasn't a lot. I mean, I ended up just punching it off and then backing it up, and hacking it up, doing a change all, delete everywhere of these, and just working on the file till I got it to where it was just down to bare bones to import it.
To import it and export it, yeah. Yeah, because they're all, because I know that's a VSAM file, or not a VSAM file. It's a microfocus file.
Yeah.
The resource definition file is a microfocus file. I don't know if there is a, like I said, I'll see if it is an FDS. And obviously if it's an FDS.
Well, don't look it
actually,
up unless you're curious. Don't look it up for me, because I can look it up too, but it's, next time I go to do it, I'll just look it up then to make sure I do the latest and greatest approach,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that changed, because I don't think the format of that RDO file changed, our version of it, because all it is a pointer to it, right? So if you look at the CIC, again, remember, all of this stuff is unavailable only when you bring up the region, right? Configuration is, this is where you would point to that physical file where the resource definition file is.
Yeah.
And again, the substitution variables, and see, you can use // and backslashes. So it should work fine for managing. And I can't remember, I don't have that region up and running. I can't remember if you needed to specify / for Unix or not, but it supports both. I mean, you can go with / and it's going to resolve it to the physical location of the file system, whether it's Linux or Unix. So again, this is where you find all the definitions for CICS, right? The table, the system table, transaction path, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same as it was before, right? The data file path, map path. And then in terms of the resources, right, here are all the resources. So the SIT, right, the SIT is I think we're using Cobalt vSAM as the SIT. So if I go by group, I look at the SIT, and then it's pretty straightforward navigating through it. You'll see it.
It still has a feel of being top-down hierarchical.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I liked about the prior release.
And then again, everything is pretty well documented. The one thing, I mean, and well, let me finish this and I'll come back to it in terms of monitoring, because that's one of the things that they're really focusing on, additional monitoring capabilities. So there's CICS, the groups are defined in there, right? There's a startup list. You go to the startup list. And then if you want to add, you just click on add. And again, once you make any changes, make sure you apply. And then all the groups associated with it, right? And again, when you look on a menu item or a line item, you'll see these actions, right, that I need to, for example, change the FCT. And then it's just check boxes, apply, and then install. So it'll install that FCT entry, or yeah, this is an FCT entry. And then all the individual configuration items, right, that are there. Any questions?
No. Well, it looks good. It looks like
yeah, once you get the sense of the navigation, it's all there, it's all defined. For batch configuration, same idea, right? Where the load modules go, where the data goes, so forth, the catalog data file. I don't think that has changed.
What about GDGs?
The GDGs are actually in the catalog. I think it's in the catalog, right? So there's my catalog definition. And you'll see a lot and there are the GDG definitions, right? So if you look at the actual definition of where they are, it's all here.
There's got to be some mass import for GDGs.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there is. So, and this will allow you to look at all the data sets, right? You can actually display the contents, or you can display the configuration of where they're pointing to. Also display the content, of the data themselves. The spool is here, right? And then you can look at the spool the same way. If you look at one that actually ran, just look at it and you get the messages, the DD entries, the job steps. So if you click on this, you'll see all the general messages, the DD entries again. You can look at them individually, sort of that same navigational approach, delete them, right? And the job steps themselves are no job steps in this
Hey,
case.
can you pull down just general monitor kicks, Jez, and users so I can just take a quick look to see what's under those drop downs?
General.
Yeah, just right. Each one of them. I just want to see what's under like general. I think we were on that earlier.
Yeah, so the listeners are here. I think you asked me about the listeners.
Yeah.
Right, there's a TN3270 listener, right? I have it defined to be dynamic. I don't set up a port, but if you want to set up a port, you just go in here and add the port,
Yeah.
right? Host name. That's the usual stuff, right? That's all the services. There's the XA definition,
Yeah.
right? This is where you go into and get click in new. And then a lot of diagnostics. Well, this is pretty much the same as it was, but there's a lot more diagnostics in terms of, there's historical statistics. This will give you information about the execution of it, right? The HCFF records themselves.
Yeah.
What else? The diagnostics I just talked about. And the advances. This is what I was talking about, right? All these properties that are now generated so you can view them, so that you can see what you have defined, the SID, right, so forth and so on. So there's a lot of information under the generals property, and there's also a lot more information under the monitoring, right? So the logs are here. There's the console log, right? You can look at the current one, a backup one that's in there. The traces and the dumps. Again, I'll show you this about the control, right? The timeouts on ES control. Again, all the diagnostics information, task control areas and stuff like that. I don't know if this one existed, but this is an interesting one. This is basically, this looks at the SCPs, the contents of the SCPs, right? So you can look at and see the traces themselves. So if you have an issue, right, with a transaction, you go to the console log, pick up the process ID, and it's a lot easier to navigate in terms of the actual monitoring. You'll find the task control or the task ID there. And then you just look at it and it'll give you a lot of information about that. What else? This is, I don't know if this was existed also. This is kind of a setup information, right? All the environment variables that it uses, right? So that you can see that everything is, set up correctly, or in my case, what is not set up correctly. So where's my ID load live? It actually even resolves those variables that you set up in front, on the front on the general section if you wanted to. What else? Clients, historical perspective. And under JES, then you saw the catalog. Control, again, this is where you submit the jobs, right? So just click on here, click on that, drive to the JCL, hit OK, and then once it gets loaded up, you hit submit, and it gets submitted to the JES. And then last but not least, the aliases, where you define all the aliases. So how's that?
That's good. Yeah, that's good. What's under the user tab? That's just what
User
you.
tab is all the definitions, you log in onto the directory server and all that stuff, right? It's all the user, because right now my security is default. So there is no security in a sense set up. So there's nothing there. The user is sysadmin or sysad.
So we usually have a user ID that does an auto sign on, and that user
Right.
ID,
Yeah.
has security for
Right.
a database, and once they log on and they do an ODBC connection, let's say,
Right.
that user ID that has security that can access the database. So I was curious to see like if that was going to show like a specific user.
No, it's going to show you basically that's the user, MF
Yeah.
user that's logged in
That's,
that I'm using, because that's the one it's installed under. When it's installed under that. So
Right.
a couple of things in terms of it moving forward with this. And I said, a lot of the new stuff is about monitoring, right? And also security. Security is going to be really important moving forward. Not really important. It's always been important, right? But it's going to be more locked down. I think right now it's pretty open, and they're going to implement security out of the box in version 10 when it comes out.
No, this is good. This is real helpful. This is
No
exactly what I
problem.
wanted to see.
Yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me or ask me or whatever.
Yeah, cool. No, I appreciate it. That's good. This is perfect.
And in the documentation, I mean, here it is, right? I'll send you the link. But I mean, it's obviously not not very user friendly. And I look for any sort of free training. And I think I said that last week, right? I don't know what we're going to do with training. Like I said, under Micro Focus, it was different. Under OpenText, it was paid. Then I don't know what the situation is currently moving forward. Right now, it seems to be all paid, but it's under, yeah, I don't know where it fits in under, even from an organizational perspective. I think it fits under the services. I don't know. If it's a separate division that's actually doing the training.
I would think so. I mean, I would think that under Andrew's service umbrella.
Andrew doesn't have services.
So what does he have?
He's got sales. He's got the field team like me, and he's got a bunch of architects like John Finkbeiner and
I thought he also had resources. I thought he was services too.
There's sort of a, maybe you should turn off the sharing, or there's the
Hang on.
recording.
Yeah.
No, it's sort of a shared